us a bit about yourself.
Well, I came to Flint about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I happen to be a contractor. I'm a building contractor. What we do is we build playgrounds all over the state of Michigan for parks and schools. And things were getting a little slow, and I decided to come to Flint to move some real estate.
Okay.
What we were doing, my partner and I decided to buy some real estate, and that's what we started doing here in Flint. I've been married 32 years to my wife Laura.
Okay.
I've got 5 children, got 5 grandchildren, one of which just was born about 3 weeks ago. And so we made our home right here in Flint. I bought a house in Mott Park.
Okay.
On Nolan Drive. And so we decided to adopt Flint as our city to live in for the future here.
Okay, now you say you moved to Flint because of some business transactions.
Right.
You were doing the real estate. And of course, this is the best time to be doing real estate. How'd that work out for you?
Well, 3 years ago was when I started actually buying real estate. But to go back a little further than that, I've been having a relationship here with individuals in Flint for about 10 years. As a matter of fact, I've been attending church here. We've been attending Grace Baptist Bible Fellowship right here in the city of Flint. And
Al Farber, right?
Pardon me?
Al Farber?
No, that would have been Glenn DeSoto, Pastor Glenn DeSoto.
Glenn DeSoto, okay.
And actually, Glenn DeSoto just passed away yesterday.
Oh, no.
And the church is being taken over by his son, but he was in the ministry for some 30-some years.
Okay.
But we moved to Flint because of the interaction that we were having with the city of Flint. We've always been drawn toward this area, my wife and I. And my son moved up here to Burton. After, we'd been coming to church here for quite some time, we started traveling the city, trying to get to learn a little bit about what's going on in the city of Flint. We liked what we saw. There's a lot of individuals ask me, why in the world would you move to the city of Flint? Because Flint does seem to have quite a few problems, but I think that there's a lot of advantages here. And from my point of view, doing work all over the state of Michigan, like we do with playgrounds, we've done parks for Traverse City, we've done parks in the city of Manistee, we do work in Grand Rapids, and also in Oakland County. It was a good central location for us to operate out of.
Okay, all right. And you bought a house in Mott Park, got involved, I'm imagining, in the neighborhood association over there.
Right.
And then you just woke up one day and said, honey, I'm running for council. How'd that come about?
Well, in the last 3 years, we've seen quite a decline. Since we started buying houses, one of the major issues is crime in our neighborhood. The other thing we're seeing is a large amount of people leaving the neighborhood. Right now, probably on every street there's a half a dozen empty houses, which is not a good thing. As I started interacting with other people and finding out how business is done in the city, I decided, well, my background, my business background, along with my community involvement, would help me maybe to make a difference here in this city. I came in here, we've done work, 10 years ago I started doing work in this city when we started working with a children's group at Bunch Elementary School over on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Okay.
We started a Saturday program with the kids there, mentoring them, working with them in different areas, and every Saturday the kids would be available. We'd have a game time with them. We'd have a time of just helping them interact socially. And we did things like, we had what we call a Pinewood Derby, similar to what they do in Boy Scouts, where we build the cars, we race them down the tracks and whatnot. And it was our first involvement in helping kids in Flint. Later then, that year, we helped put a playground in over at Bunch Elementary on a volunteer basis, my company did. And we decided that the city could use some help. We noticed there was a lot of people who were complaining about things, but we wanted to make a difference in the city. And so that going on forward, we decided, my partner and I decided to start buying houses. And what we were doing is we started buying houses that were abandoned. We bought houses that were uninhabitable, and we started fixing them up. Usually the house would have no copper in it. Maybe the siding had been ripped off, the roof was caved in, that type of thing. So we would go and we'd purchase the house, and we would rehab it and make it a benefit to the neighborhood rather than a blight.
Okay.
And so we did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, until the market fell out of the mortgage market. The secondary mortgage market fell out, made it virtually impossible for us to get more cash funds to do that. And so right now, we're sitting on the houses, but we're keeping them up. And in the meantime, as houses come up and they get vacant, what we do is we try to help encourage the neighborhood to take care of those houses. Maybe the lawn's getting too long, so we'll mow the grass, that type of thing.
Okay, cool. Now, what community did you say you came from again?
Came from Oakland County.
Came from Oakland County. Were you active in the city council in Oakland County, or?
No, this is my first, well, I've been active as a constituent, as a citizen, but if I am elected as a city council member, this will be the first time I've ever been elected to a public office.
Okay. You're familiar then with the Flint City Charter?
The Flint City what?
The Flint City Charter.
Okay,
so I guess the Bible of the council, which gives you, I guess, limited powers, limited authority on what you can actually do in the city. Mm-hmm. We recently went through a serious budget issue.
Right.
7 million, 13 million, they're still fighting it out. But it's all deficit. In your role as city council, how do you see yourself affecting or fixing that deficit? Is there anything that you can do?
Well, I think there's a limited amount of things that city council can do. Of course, being elected to office like this, you're 1 out of 9. There's 9 wards in this city. We're losing people. I think in the last, since the last census, we've probably lost over 10,000 people. At the peak population in this city, my investigation, you had somewhat over 200,000 people at one time, and now we're close to 100,000.
Correct.
If we go much lower, it's going to affect
a lot.
Income sharing, that type of thing, from the state and the federal. Mm-hmm. What we need to do is we need to do some serious thinking about what the city wants to do. We need to try to figure out what we can do to bring people back into the city. I would like to see businesses come in, and we're all saying let's bring businesses in the city. Mm-hmm. But businesses aren't just going to come here by themselves. Number one, when you think about taxes, for example, the property taxes in this city are higher per thousand. The millage is higher per thousand than where I came from in Oakland County. For example, if you owned a house in Oakland County and you didn't have the homestead exemption, the millage rate would be probably somewhere around $40. Here it's closer to $60. Okay. So we're about a third higher just in property taxes to start with. Okay. And then when you start thinking of crime issues, when I lived in Oakland County, I didn't have to worry about locking my door when I left the house at night. Here, my neighbors are getting broken into almost on a daily basis right now. So crime's another issue that we have to take care of if we want to see businesses coming in. And then there's the issue of regulations. Businesses will go where they can thrive. If there are too many regulations, there's too high of taxes, there's too high of a crime rate, can you tell me why would anybody want to move their business here? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm saying, if we take care, we've got to address those issues along with infrastructure. So if we can address the crime, the taxes, the regulations, then we can bring businesses in, which will help to increase the income coming into the city. That's one thing we can do. A second thing that we can do is we can offer services at a reduced rate. Now, when you drive down the street and you're looking for gasoline to buy, typically you're going to look for the one that sells it for the least amount of money, aren't you? I mean, I've seen in the past, especially when gasoline was jumping up very quickly, you'd see sometimes lineups at the gas station down the street a mile if somebody was 5 cents a gallon cheaper than the next guy.
It's like 50 cents a gallon cheaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's because there's competition that we can do that. But when you get into a government situation, there's very little competition that you can choose from. You can't choose who's going to pick up your garbage, and you can't choose who's going to scrape your streets. And if somebody doesn't plow the snow, you can complain to your city councilman, but good luck sometimes, and especially when we have no money. So what we have to do is we have to find a way to become a lean, mean machine in the city. In other words, we have to be competitive. We have to offer services at a reduced amount, and so we can do that through renegotiation of contracts. We can do that through intergovernmental cooperation with the county and the city. There's other ways we can do that.